In today's video I'm going to be answering the fourth and final question of the evaluation. Now question 4 consists of how did you use media technologies in the construction, research and planning stages as well as the evaluation stages. Now in this video I'm going to be listing all the types of technology in terms of hardware and software that I use to make a video happen, whether it be just a standard research and planning video or my actual film trailer called Paper Power. Now the first thing I always started out with was a camera. Now the camera that I primarily used to film my videos was the Canon 700D. It's a good DSLR as it provides great quality in stock lens, which is 18mm to 55mm, so it allows you to zoom slightly if you want to, although this isn't conventional when it comes to a trailer or a video. Also like to set my videos to manual focus as there won't be any change in focus, so I won't go out in and out of focus. This feature of this camera that I also like is the extended battery grip, as you can see here. Now this allows for 2 batteries to go in, so 2 of the lithium ion batteries can go in, so it provides double the battery life, which is helpful if you're filming a long video. You're going to waste a lot of battery, so having that assurance of you can have 2 batteries in a camera will just make videos much better, as in what won't cut suddenly, so you won't have to refilm. Now the next feature that I find was helpful is having a good tripod. I recently upgraded my tripod compared to my last film in stage, which was last year. I managed to film with a professional tripod. Now the use of a professional tripod is great. Especially the one I have, it has a liquidized dolly, so you can do amazing panning, and so whether that be panning horizontally or vertically, it's going to provide an extremely smooth shot. And the reason that made me want to buy this is when using a tripod last year for my main task, I found that whenever we would do a horizontal tilt or a vertical tilt, that it'd be very shaky and juddery, which just makes the film look, in terms of quality, lower, because you just got that horrible sort of shaky, inconsistent pan, or inconsistent pan. So having something that will allow me to capture amazing panning shots just adds to the development of my trailer. Now moving on to hardware, as I mentioned previously, I did a lot of Steadicam shots in terms of using a slider. Now the slider I have before me is a very simple slider. It's around 60 centimeters, and it's on like an axis which allows for super smooth movement where it'll be horizontally. You can also set it up so it goes vertically, so from the bottom up, which is how I actually use that type of shot in my trailer. So using this is very good because it provides no shakiness. It's just very clean shots, which I like. I actually got this inspiration when looking at other A2 productions, as I thought the cinema photography just looked much better and much more professional whilst using a slider. Moving on to hardware, in terms of lighting, I didn't use a lot of external lighting. I mainly used this quite powerful, I believe it's a very high powered watt camera light. So this can go directly onto the camera as it has a shoe mount, and the camera that I use, which is 700D, so the camera I use has a stock foot mount, so the camera light can just slide straight into the foot mount space. So this can allow you to keep all your lighting on board your camera, so you don't have to think about different positions to put your lighting. At the same time, I also used an external mic. Now this is a Rode mic and it's directional, which means that sound can only be picked up that is facing from the front. Now I like this method because obviously you're going to pick up loads of background noise, particularly filming in different locations. So the reason why I went for a directional mic is it's going to limit any interference coming from the back or the sides. It's only going to capture what's happening in front of it. So this was very helpful during the filming. This also fits onto the shoe mount on the camera and just tightens into place. Also use the stock mic slot on my DSLR to record audio. Thing I also like about this audio recorder is it doesn't record in a separate audio file. Now experimenting with different audio software using a Sony recorder that records audio separately, I found that this was too much hassle having to match it to the video in terms of making sure that the audio is perfectly in place, so there's no sort of delay in speech. One of the problems that I came across was if I wanted to use the light and the mic at the same time, I'm not obviously going to be able to fit both on my camera. And also, if you're holding the light by hand or the mic by hand, it's going to just disturb the different types of the light. For example, there's going to cast different shadows because it's going to be moving, as well as the audio level is going to change. It's going to change if you're holding it closer or further away, and you're going to be knocking it, it's going to be making a horrible sound. So I managed to find a solution for this problem. Looking on Amazon, where I get most of my camera stuff from, I found this adapter. Now this allows for three items, to go into one shoe mount. Now for example, as you can see, there's one here, one there and one there. Now for this method I had the mic on the bottom, like so. The mic would go there and the external light would go on top, and they would just tighten it onto these separate made ones, and it would allow for the light and mic to both sit perfectly on the mount. Also it allows for the light to be moved into different positions, so you can cast different types of light. Now although my stock camera comes with a improved mic, I found that this mic is binaural, so it picks up from right to left. It sort of simulates the human ear, so if you can only hear sound from a left ear, it would only play from your left ear. If you can only hear sound from your right ear. I didn't like this fact, as I don't like this feature, as I think that it limits the audio. So if there's no balance between right or left ear, you're only going to hear it through one ear, so one ear is always going to be dominant. So having a directional mic will allow for a decrease in the binaural factor. Although this is quite good in terms of reality, I didn't find it's just going to be harder to get the correct audio balance. So focusing on the directional mic, it just allows for very balanced audio. Now moving on, this adapter just goes straight into your camera's foot mount, and it manages to sit on top. Although it does look very sort of bulky, it's actually not too bad, and once it's on a tripod you're not going to be carrying around this in your hand, obviously, to get those better shots. But I found this is a very useful method to include both the mic and the light onto the camera at the same time to create those really good shots. Now moving on to the last piece of hardware, I'm going to be talking about what I edited my videos on. Now I was extremely lucky, as the media department at our school have Macs to edit on, and these Macs provide us with iMovie, Premiere, and we can also use other editing software such as Sony Vegas or other color editing software. Now I'm also quite lucky at home to have my own Mac to edit on, and I found it's very easy to edit my videos at home, so I could go just simply film, not have to wait till the next day for school to edit, and just upload at school. The programs that I used for editing on my Mac here was just iMovie. I found iMovie very and extremely easy to use, as it's basically a foolproof guide on how to edit. I'm not one of these people that knows particularly a lot of editing when I first started media, but once progressing through the year, I definitely developed my skills in terms of using Photoshop, After Effects, Premiere, and Lightroom in terms of editing both my ancillary tasks and my film's colour grading and music. Now in terms of music, I used GarageBand, which is provided by Apple. This is very easy, as I don't have to look for sort of other music making software, which can be quite costly. I mean, I was looking at music software that was around £80, and considering you can get as many samples and as good quality music software for free, because on Mac it was just a no-brainer to use GarageBand. Now upon looking at YouTube videos to help my knowledge increase in terms of the production factor of my film, I looked at colour grading, and at the start of the year I had no idea what colour grading was. I didn't have any intention whatsoever to include it into my final product, but upon looking at videos I found that it was very useful in terms of making the film look much better and just giving the film a whole new look. The problem I faced was filming in different times in the day, so obviously it's going to be lighter and darker. Now this is just allows the shots to be sort of slightly negative, as there's not going to be a constant flow. So putting my shots into iMovie, I actually went into the colour grading section that they provide. Although this is very simple and doesn't allow you to sort of maybe edit extremely different and minute factors, it gives a more general approach to colour grading itself. Now this is what I liked because there's not many factors like in terms of heat and noise of things you can edit, like you can edit the shadows, make them increase or decrease noise. So I focused mainly on the warmth of the picture. I like to include sort of a yellowish hue, which so at the time didn't seem very practical, but looking back on the film it just looks so much more like an old crime film, which wasn't my intention. I just felt like maybe colour grading it just adds consistency between the shots and can also show some time in terms of continuity, whether it be in a linear sort of order or not. So definitely I've learnt a lot more about software over the years looking at videos on YouTube, so that's helped me. Also editing both my ancillary tasks in Photoshop. This was very helpful because obviously I don't know any other sort of photo editing websites or software that would allow me to do what I did to mine and achieve the sort of that final outlook of what I did, which was very helpful because I loved how the trailers turned, the ancillary task turned out. Also, moving on to my titles, Matt, I was going to use iMovie, just use their stock titles, but I didn't like how the way that they would just show up. There was no sort of animation between the different types of titles. So I looked at After Effects and made my titles completely from scratch, which was harder, but in the long run it taught me a lot more about the software itself and gave a better overall appearance to the titles.